Whether for your burger, your bap, or even your anaconda,
Oh la
I
la!
like big buns, and I cannot lie. Let's face it, who doesn't love a good burger? Even vegetarians like me love them, but the buns, they're not so great, are they? They're not big enough, they're not round enough, they're not juicy enough, you can't shape them. All right, I'm not gonna do the whole song, but you get it. So today, we're gonna make our own.
Right, so first up, pop your yeast into your mixing bowl with half a cup of the flour and a cup of warm water. It shouldn't be too hot or too cold, it should feel like bath water, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees C if you have a thermometer. Then give it a good whisk until combined and leave it for about 10 or 15 minutes. If your yeast is good and active, it will look like this, like the head of a Guinness. Yum. Next, chuck your egg, melted butter, sugar and salt and give it another good whisk until completely combined. Then pop in your remaining flour and knead for a good 10 minutes. I'm using my trusty mixer, but you can do this by hand. The dough should feel soft and a little sticky, but not too sticky. Now you can see how this dough looks a bit dry. It's not soft or pliable. It almost looks like a rock clinging to the hook. I'm going to pull it out and show you. You can see it's just too dry and it's not sticking to my fingers at all. Remember, flour is famously mercurial and amounts often need adjusting, so I've added a few more tablespoons of water little by little and kneaded it some more. And now you can see it's kind of hanging off the hook as it's softer and wetter, and when I handle it, it's sticking a bit more to my fingers. This is what we want. It should feel soft and a little sticky. Best to go a little too sticky than too dry if you're not sure. Bread's all about water, and without it, you won't get any rise. Ooh, yeah, that looks smooth and perfect. Yes, you knew that was coming. Right, next pour a little oil into your mixing bowl, pop the dough in there, cover it and leave it in a warm place until it's doubled in size. Now for my next top tip. You can buy fermentation stations, which are just warm boxes. Now they sound very posh, but they also have a price tag to match. Or you can just use your oven. Turn the light on and it creates the perfect amount of heat. You're welcome.
Buns, baby. Big, round, healthy buns. It's worth it, right? It's worth it. There you go. There we go. We get right?
Hey man, I love your shows, you know.
Oh, mate, that's really kind.
I happen to be able to taste this food that he's
You do.
and it's not done. Everyone.
It's not a dud. Thank you.
It's one of the best tastes in my life. So
Right.
well done.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that.
Rock it!
All right, brother. Right?
Well, Buns, I'm in.
The buns, not butts.
Turn up the kettle then. Hang
Yeah, go.
on.
I do the baking. I call my friends. We're all stuck in quarantine. We make the world a slightly sweeter, nicer, more joyful place.
Dude, I'm glad you called.
Right?
Can you get enough buns?
The honest answer. Come on. No. All right, brother. I'll be seeing you soon. I love you, mate. I miss you. All right. Lots of love, mate. See you later, mate. All right.
Top lads. After 2 hours, it'll look like this. So give it a punch to knock the air out. And now for another top tip. Rather than flour, spread some oil onto your work surface and your hands. It's far better than flour in my opinion, as nothing sticks and you also don't run the risk of drying your dough out with excess flour. So tip the dough out, flatten it into a rectangle, squash it down a bit more to knock the air out so it can be cut into 8 even pieces. Now this rectangle I've got here is about 10 inches by 7 and maybe an inch thick. To get them even, I just eyeball it and then draw lines in the dough with my finger. I then use my dough scraper to highlight those lines and then make the cuts. If you don't have a dough scraper, no worries, a large sharp knife will do perfectly. Try to get them as even as possible. You could even measure them if you want, but I'm not bothered. I kind of enjoy the imperfection of home-baked goods. Right, the balls themselves. Excuse me. This bit is quite tricky. So you want to make them into little balls, and how you do this is you take each piece and you kind of tuck the corners underneath itself. You can see what I'm doing here, and I'll show you the underneath as well. I want the top to be perfectly smooth, so I just keep doing this until it starts to resemble a ball. Once that's done, I make a V shape with my hands and then run them back and forth so that the ball is in constant contact with my hands. Again, because of the oil, it won't stick. What a top tip! I keep working it and tucking it under if necessary so the ball gets tighter and tighter and rounder, and the underneath part also blends into the dough, just like this. What a cute little bum. Next up, you'll want to flatten them into disc shapes about 1/2 inch thick with your fingers and thumb. Try to keep them perfectly circular if you can, then place them onto your lined baking sheet. Now you can either space them about 1 inch apart if you want them to join together as they rise, or you can space them a little further if you don't. I've actually used 2 trays and used both methods. Next up, you want to dust them very lightly with a little flour. This is so the cling film that we are about to lovingly drape over them won't stick. Delicate dusting, my dears. And really use a gossamer touch here with the cling film. Honestly, you don't want to prevent them from rising by wrapping them. Just barely nestling on the top like that. Perfect. Then just leave them on the counter to rise for about another hour until they've puffed up like this. Glorious. So go ahead and preheat your oven to 375 Fahrenheit, which is 190 C. Then remove the cling film very carefully. Then pop the egg and your splash of milk into a bowl and beat together. Grab your pastry brush, or this bizarre little thing, and very carefully, again, please gossamer touch, brush them with the egg wash. And don't they look beautiful and shiny? Now, typically one would sprinkle sesame seeds over the top. They are burger buns after all, but I don't have any. And with us being stuck in quarantine, it just wasn't worth a trip to the supermarket, so they'll have to do without. And 14 minutes later, out they come, and don't they look scrumptious? Just leave them on the tray for a few minutes to cool and they're good to go. And here's what they look like inside. Soft and just squishy enough. They're just lovely. It's so much better than that rather sad-looking bunch of blobbed together store-bought nonsense in a plastic bag. As always, the full recipe and method is posted in the description below.
Right, buns are done, baby, and they were fabulous. Now listen, a bunch of you have sent in requests for me to bake certain things, and I'm going to try to do it. It's just very difficult for me to get all the ingredients right now. But I've got a ton of stuff here that I can make really wonderful things with, so I promise you lots more tasty items and videos coming very soon. I'll see you next time.